The Honourable Member Jackie Dean.
Children deserve to be protected against sex offenders, whether or not those individuals have been convicted or not. And that is the starting point for us as New Zealanders and is the underlying theme in this very good bill. And I'm pleased that Labour are supporting this bill at first reading, and I agree with the previous speaker that one of the most important aspects that the Law and Order Committee do need to consider are the impacts on human rights and the concerns raised not only by the Labour members but other members throughout this House about the rights of the victim weighed up against the rights of the perpetrator convicted of that crime. But due to the significant risk of serious harm posed by the worst small number of sex offenders against adults and children, and the very small number of violent offenders who would be managed on an extended supervision order, it is believed by the Minister and by this side of the House, and hopefully the majority of this House, that extended supervision orders will be a vital tool for protecting our most precious citizens. So, provisions in this Parole Extended Supervision Orders Amendment Bill include enabling orders to be renewed for as long as they are needed. Currently, supervision orders are extended for a period limited to 10 years. And then it is extremely difficult to maintain any form of control and check on convicted sex offenders beyond that point. And the previous member has outlined in a certain individual for whom we have grave concern about their future offending, and I won't dignify him by going over that evidence again. But it will also expand the scope of orders beyond high-risk child sex offenders to include a small number of high-risk sex offenders against adults, because adults too need to be protected. We're talking about very small numbers here, and again I've referenced the concerns and share the concerns about the human rights of both the victims but also the offenders. The bill will allow these proposed enhancements to apply to extended supervision order applications made to and granted by the court after the legislation comes in place. So if there is an offender already subject to an extended supervision order, they would remain on that order under the existing regime, which is of a period of 10 years, but would be eligible to have a new order imposed upon them by the court under the new legislative regime on application from the Department of Corrections. And at that point, the existing order would be automatically cancelled when the new order takes effect. So there should be, on the enaction, on the passing of this bill and when it is enacted, no gap between those on existing protection orders and the new extended protection order regime. Mr. Speaker, very recently, in consideration of the Parole Amendment Bill, members of the Law and Order Committee attended a number of parole hearings throughout New Zealand. I attended a parole hearing in Mount Eden Prison, and the prisoner applying or wishing to apply for parole was a sex offender and was trying very hard to convince the parole board that the fact that he was seen to be lurking around shopping malls and places where he was forbidden to be, and trying to get his hands on a cell phone and send texts to targeted people was perfectly acceptable to them, even though they were against his bail conditions. And it was that kind of incremental creeping, it's all right, I know I've offended in a shopping mall before, but I'm not going to do it again. It's all right, I've sent text grooming potential victims, but I have no intention of doing that again. Well, the parole board doing their job, saw through that kind of argument and declined parole in that instance, but it highlighted to me the danger that children and adults can be in from a determined high-risk sex offender. And it is that kind of danger that this bill seeks to protect our most precious citizens from. Thank you.
I call the honourable member Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to make this call on the Parole Extended Supervision Orders Amendment Bill and follow my colleague Phil Goff and just confirm that we are in the situation, the whole House is in the situation, where we are finding our criminal justice system now dealing with